Your confidence blooms when you plant this. Hey, my dear, I am leadership development coach Kathy Archer and author of best-selling book, Mastering Confidence. What I know is that most women leaders hit a point in their careers where they feel in over their heads and they're wondering if they have what it takes to lead. So in my courses and in my coaching and in my books, I give you the inner and outer tools so that you can restore your lost confidence and move from surviving to thriving in both your leadership and your life. Today, we're talking about what you need to plant so that you can start to feel more confident. I wanted to let you know that today's session is brought to you by my course, Blueprint for Change. Now, Blueprint for Change is for discontent women leaders who long for a different experience of leadership in life. When you enroll in the course, you get both the motivation and those action steps, that process, that plan, that guide, so that you can take the necessary steps to get you out of survival mode. By doing the work in Blueprint for Change and creating your own unique blueprint, you start to strategically, intentionally, consciously change the direction of your life, moving you from that dismal reality of what you often feel, which is survival mode and barely getting through your days, to thriving and really moving to that desired kind of experience of both leadership and life that you desire. So if you have not checked it out yet, make sure you head over to myblueprintforchange.com, get your name on the wait list because the doors are opening really soon, and find out how you can start to strategically change the direction of your life. Again, it's myblueprintforchange.com. So today, your confidence blooms when you plant this. I'm going to pop on over into my phone here for a minute and share this into the Confident Women Leaders group. While I'm doing that, in the chat box, whether you are following along live or in the replay, I want to know if you've visited the Blueprint for Change course yet. Confident Women Leaders group, share. If you have, say yes. If no, say no. And if you are a student in the course or have been a student in the course, give me your favorite emoji. I want to know what your favorite emoji is. Okay, on with the show. Your confidence blooms when you plant this. Now, here's the thing. Over the last 2 weeks, we've been talking about a couple of other things that kind of lead up to this conversation. Sorry, I'm just making sure I'm not setting my notes on the wrong spot. On March 22nd, the topic was, and you can go back and find these. Each week I do these lives. They are posted. They stay live on Facebook for as long as Facebook keeps them up, which seems to be forever. They are also on YouTube and they are also on my blog. So if you want to go back and find these and follow along and catch up on some of the ones you've missed, those are the 3 places you can go to check in and get replays of all of these weekly Facebook lives. So hello, whoever just joined. On the 22nd, we talked about what you need to write down to get out of survival mode. And what I said was you need to write down a plan. If you are in survival mode, if you are in that place where you are just tolerating your days, where you're barely getting through, where you're rolling your eyes more than you're feeling joy and excitement, where you are exhausted at the end of your days, when you question what's the point, why bother, when you're fighting with people, there's a constant drama, that's survival mode. If you want to get out of that, you have to step up and take some responsibility, because where most of us are is we play victim. I had this just yesterday. I was chatting with someone who has started to be a client of mine, but then she kind of faded by the wayside for a little bit. And part of the problem is she hasn't made the conscious decision to take responsibility. And so, you know, she's chatting with me and you can just feel that victim energy. Poor me. Everybody's out to get me. Nothing's going to ever change. I don't know how to make a difference. I don't know how to change my life. I'm lost. I'm struggling. I get it. But what are you going to do about it? If you continually look at other people, blame them, wait for them to change, wait for the situation to change, you're going to stay stuck in that place forever. You have to step up. And so this is what I said on the 22nd of March you need to do. You need to write down a plan. What are you, not somebody else, what are you going to do to change your life? And so the 3 things I said, decide it's time, write down that plan, and start to take action. A plan is only a dream if you don't actually start to take action. So go back and watch that session. Then last week, what I said was building on this whole idea of the plan. Without this level of clarity, your plan is doomed to fail. So you don't want your plan to fail. You don't want to have all of these great ideas about how you're going to get out of survival mode and then find out that it's going to fall apart. And so what I said was there are 3 things your plan needs to include. And the first one is, where am I? What's going on? The second one is, where do I want to go? Where do I want to be? What's the difference I want to have in my life? And then the third thing is, how am I going to do that? But here's the thing. While that can sound really, really simple, it's not. You have to do some of this work. You have to sit down and really think about, where am I? So the example I thought about today was, many of us are procrastinators. Great. That's a problem. Procrastination can get us into trouble. We can get behind on things. We can avoid things that we really should be doing. We can start to feel more stressed, anxiety. The piles just build up because we're procrastinating. Here's the thing, though. We all procrastinate for different reasons. There's a different underlying kind of current about why you're procrastinating. And for some things, you're procrastinating for one reason, and for something else, it's a totally different reason. But many of the times when we're procrastinating, especially in leadership roles, it's on something like talking to someone. We don't want to address an issue that we know needs to be addressed. We don't want to hold somebody accountable. It could be that you have a report to do or a form that you need to fill out, email that you have to send. You're procrastinating on that. What's the reason you're procrastinating? Is it the starting place for you when you're building this plan might be that you need to get better organized. You know what? I keep forgetting. I just never get to it. I need to write it down. I need a better system for remembering. That's one starting point. Somebody else's starting point, and my guess is that many of us are actually here, is we're lacking the confidence to have that conversation. We're lacking the confidence to send that email. We're lacking the confidence to set those boundaries. That's a whole different starting point than I need to figure out a better time management system. And it's going to have a very, very different ending. One of my students said yesterday, she had held somebody accountable. She had set a boundary, and I can't remember the third thing, went home on time or something like that. And she's like, wow, confidence, feels really good. Absolutely. That's where many of us want to be. The ending point isn't, I want to get this task done. The ending point for many of us is, I want to feel confident to do that. So that's what I talked about last week. Go back and watch that, Facebook Live, March 29th. Without this level of clarity, your plan is doomed to fail. So here I am, here's where I want to be, and then what's the steps I need to do to get there? On to today. And so just wait before I go on to today. And remember, the guide sheet for both of those sessions, same guide sheet as is today. The link is in the notes. The 5 missteps that women make when they create a plan to get out of survival mode. You want to create your plan. If you want to take responsibility, if you want to start moving out of survival mode, go grab this download so that you don't make those common mistakes that many women make. Many women decide they're going to do something different, but then they find that they fail, that their plan is doomed, that they fall apart, that they don't execute. Don't do that. Go grab this guide sheet and make sure you don't make those 5 mistakes. In the guide sheet, it also gives you the fixes. So here's what many women do wrong. Here's the mistakes they make. Here's the better way to do it. The link is in the notes for that. So today, your confidence blooms when you plant this. So where are you planting this for starters? These 3 things you have to plant into your plan. These need to be the foundational pieces for your plan. You need to bake them in. If you don't have these 3 pieces in your plan, again, you're not going to bloom. Your plan's going to just be doomed to fail. It's going to fall apart. Here's the 3 pieces. Actually, before we get there, I have notes. I should just follow the notes before we get there. So the 3 things to have let me try that one more time. Your confidence blooms when you plant these 3 things. Here's the thing about your plan. If you create a plan and you don't feel confident you can execute it, if you don't feel confident it's not going to work, if you don't feel confident you can follow through and keep up with it long term, again, yeah, it's doomed to fail. It's not going to work. And confidence comes by, we've talked about this before, way back when. Confidence comes when you know how to do it. You have the competency, you've got the skills, the capability. When you have the courage to take those steps and do some things that maybe feel a little bit scary, that starts to build that confidence, and that confidence and courage kind of spiral upwards. But you've got to have that base level competence first. You need to know you can do it. And so in order to create this plan that's going to be successful for you and feel confident, you got to know that you can work the plan. If you don't know that you can work the plan, it's going to fall apart. Here are 4 places that many women leaders are trying to create plans. Let's talk about them for a minute. First one, many women are wanting something like, I just want to go back and work on my degree. You know, I was, let me think about this, probably about 4 years into my leadership, maybe a little bit, somewhere around there, about 4 years into my leadership when I, as my phone's ringing, when I went back and started working on my degree. And I had to know at that point that I was going to be successful. I was raising 4 children, working full-time in a leadership capacity, and working on my degree. That's not an easy venture for most people. And so it would be easy to get into it and find out, you know, halfway through the first course or halfway through the first semester, I can't do this. There's no way that I can do this. So I had to have the level of confidence that I was going to be able to do it. I had to be confident I was going to find the time. I had to be confident I had a place to work. I had to be confident I had the support of my husband and my work site. I had to know that I had the funding for it. All of those little pieces had to be in place for me to know that I was going to be able to execute that plan. Second one, where many women are struggling, is that place of feeling unhealthy. So for some, that unhealthiness is the work-life balance. For some, it's you know, mental illness, depression, anxiety. For others, it's unhealthy relationships. Maybe your marriage is falling apart, or you're not feeling that you're being the best parent you can be. Maybe it's something in your extended family. Maybe you've lost connection with your girlfriends. But there's something unhealthy going on in your life. And so we have to really look at, you know, what is it that I need to do? I should have shut my phone right off. Holy. What is it that I need to do to start to feel healthier? So again, let's say, for example, you decide that one of the things you need to do to start feeling healthier is eat better. If you're not confident you can eat healthier on the road, if you're not confident that you have the willpower to resist the donuts in the middle of the staff room table, the chips that your partner brings home, the Nanaimo bar sitting at the gas station, if you're not confident you have the willpower to avoid all of those things, to say no, your plan's not going to fail. You have to figure out, how am I going to do that? What is it that I'm going to do to be successful? Another place that many women struggle is they struggle with the confidence. We've talked about this. Confidence in leadership is huge. And this is one of the things that really, really hits many women leaders. They get into a leadership position often because they've moved up the ranks, but they haven't been given the skills or training to both manage and lead, which are 2 different things, which is a whole nother topic. If you don't have the skills to take on some of the things, I was talking the other day about someone that we know who moved from the head janitor in a school, so might have had 1 or 2 people that he supervised, to the janitor of a big building with probably a team of 20 to supervise. That's a whole different ball of wax for that individual. They were doing, you know, 90% of the work before and 10% of supervising, managing. And now my guess is it's totally flipped. They're barely doing any of the work, and more of their work is managing. But have they been given those skills? If not, that's where we start to struggle with confidence. So first one, lost, need some sense of direction, maybe going back to school. Second one, unhealthy, maybe you need to eat healthier. Third, is the confidence to do whatever it is you need to do, set boundaries with people, say the hard things that need to be said, set the direction, all of that kind of stuff. Then the fourth thing that I often find for many women is they lack a connection. That's why I created Confident Women Leaders Group. If you click on the link on the side, this is where what I shared in the beginning. This is a group of women who are starting to talk and have conversations with each other, because where many of us women find ourselves in leadership positions is lonely. We don't have a decent mentor. We don't have a group of other women we can support. Many of our colleagues, peers, people above us are men. And it's a different experience for women. And so we don't have that connection. And so if you want to create a plan to get a better connection with people, again, you have to be confident you can work that. So maybe your plan is, I'm going to find a network of women. Great. Where are you going to find it? How are you going to find it? When are you going to find the time to do it? All of those things need to be in place. And so you have to feel confident that you can do that. So those are the 4 places that I want to talk about. What are the 3 things you need to plant? You should see my notes. There's like plants. One of the things that I had as a plan this year, and have had it for several years, but have amped it up this year, is I want to be able to teach, speak, and communicate to you in a way that's persuasive, in a way that's motivational, in a way that inspires you to take the steps you need to make some of the changes in your life so that you can move from that survival mode state into really enjoying, feeling content, feeling happy more often. That's a communication skill. But for me, as I start to look at the plan to do that, it's great. A year ago when I started these Facebook Lives, you should have seen the notes I had. It was a stack like this. I was reading from them. I was teaching you like a instructor in university. I was going deep. There was lots of theoretical stuff. I felt incompetent because I couldn't talk to you. I felt like I was reading to you. And so I had to start going, how do I do that differently? So I've learned how to visualize my notes so that I can see it differently and talk to you rather than read to you. That's something that I had to work on. I had to figure out where I needed to learn that, who I needed to learn it from, how I need to practice. Lots of stuff goes on there. So I follow this one guy on his podcasts who taught a lot about memorizing and memorizing in different ways. So that was one thing. I go to Toastmasters every week. I'm in an online course about persuasion and influence. What else? Oh, I said Toastmasters, but Toastmasters, I'm competing this year. So that raised my level of how I'm speaking and how I'm showing up. All a plan. If I want to feel confident, I can influence, persuade, motivate, inspire you, I have to have a plan that I know that I can work and be confident to follow that plan. So there are 3 things that you need to plant to make sure that your confidence blooms when you're building your plan. First one, your plan needs to have action steps. Clearly laid out small action steps. You need to say, I am doing this week, on this day, at this time. This is what it's going to look like. If you are working the plan to eat healthier, your plan needs to include the action steps of every night I need to prepare my food, or every Sunday I need to prepare my food. I need to look at my schedule every week and know which days I'm out of the office and create a plan ahead of time so that I can have the willpower to avoid the food at the gas station or on the boardroom table. I need to have a plan in place. Those are action steps. And you need to break it down. If your plan is you want to find a mentor, you're going to, sit down and do a brainstorm one day about where might I find a mentor. You're going to talk to some people and ask them, who would you think would be a good mentor? You're going to identify 2 or 3 of those people. You're going to have conversations with them. Would it be okay if we sat down for coffee once a month? Those are the action steps. So you need to do that first. Second, you need to create habits. So the most successful people have routines and habits that they consistently follow, like religiously. I started getting up earlier many years ago so that I could establish some things in the morning that I knew were going to make me feel happier, healthier, and move my life forward. So one of the things that, I get up at 5 a.m., I do yoga, I meditate, I read scripture, I journal, I have that time before I check email, before I get into Facebook, before I have conversations with anybody else. I fill my brain with the stuff that's going to motivate me, inspire me, and make me healthy. I know that. When I get to my workday at 8:30, if I'm working on a project, right now I'm working on my second book, that is the first thing that goes into my day. Nothing else happens. I don't do emails. I don't get into interacting with my students. I don't make phone calls. Nothing happens until I've spent a half hour writing every single day. First thing. Those are habits. There's plus habits and minus habits. What are you going to add and what are you going to take out? What I've noticed for me that I have to stop doing is when I hop onto Facebook, which is several times a day, because I'm constantly into my group. I'm into my the courses that I offer have private Facebook groups, so I'm in there communicating with my students. My bad habit, my habit that's not helpful, my habit that distracts me, is my daughter is very active on social media because she's got her own business and she's, you know, always on there posting things that I'm really intrigued by. I have to not click on the notification that says your daughter posted something. That's a habit I have to get out of. When I feel my mouse going click, I have to like stop, pull back. Another habit that I noticed, you know, a while back that I had to start doing, it's an easy habit for us to check our phone while we're driving. I had to start breaking that habit. It's not safe to check messages while we're driving. So there are habits you have to start doing and there's habits you have to stop doing. So plus or minus. So that's the other thing you need to plant into your plan is what are the habits I'm creating to be more successful? What are the habits I'm subtracting? Third one, your mindset. I'll come back to this again and again and again. Your thoughts create your reality. What you think, what you expect is what you get. If you think I'm going to fail, if you think it's not going to work, if you think you're going to be hit with tons of resistance, if you think it's going to be hard, it is. You need to literally write down the mindset that you want to be in. In Blueprint for Change, we do a lot of work around mindsets. There's tons of exercises to help you look at what are the thoughts I'm thinking? Where do those thoughts come from? What's the thought I want to have? How do I start creating that thought more consciously? Because most of what we do is unconscious. So if you want to flip that, you've got to really do that inner work to start pulling out what's the mindset shift I want to have. When you bake into your plan, when you plant action steps, habits, and mindset, your confidence to work this plan is going to bloom. It's going to skyrocket. When you sit down and do this work, and again, this is the deep dive. I talked earlier at the beginning of the course about Blueprint for Change gives you the strategies and the motivation for making those steps. That's what I'm talking about. In Blueprint for Change, we are breaking this down bit by bit by bit, really doing that undercover work. I said at the beginning, I give you the inner and outer tools. That's the catch. The outer tool is a plan. Anybody can write down a plan. But you need to dive deep and look at what are the thoughts I have? What are the mindsets I have? What are the habits I have? How do I increase that level of confidence? What are the specific baby steps that are going to get me here? So those are the things you need to plant so that your confidence blooms so that you can work your plan. Remember, hop on over, grab the 5 missteps that women leaders often make when they are trying to change their lives and create a plan, because I don't want you to do those mistakes either. And you'll also get the 5 steps that are going to take you forward and help you to create that plan so you can strategically, consciously, intentionally, purposefully, not just waiting and being that victim to see what happens, but being really clear about how I'm going to change my life. So the other thing that's coming up is next week and the following week, there are 3 dates coming up for a free webinar that I'm doing called End Your Inner Turmoil. Here's where many of us are, is we have this constant inner mind chatter. I talked a minute ago about mindsets, and that creates that inner turmoil. No, you can't. Yes, you can. I have to do this, but oh my God, I feel like crap. I don't want to do this. And it's this nattering in our brain that gets in our way. It's that incessant chatter that nags at us, reminds us, demeans us, yesterday I was working on some emails for the webinar, and I made a mistake, and there's 3 webinars, and so I was trying to figure out where the emails were going, and it was just like, and all of a sudden I realized I'm out loud. Thank God I work alone. I'm talking out loud to myself like, oh my God, Kathy, can you figure this out? Will you ever get it? What are you doing? And I was literally demeaning myself. I was literally beating myself up. And I had to catch myself, catch that chatter, and go, whoa, chill out, Kathy. Like, tone it down a notch. You're fine. You're doing okay. You've got this. Slow down. Take a deep breath. Maybe go for a little walk and come back and refocus. And, you know, I know that. Those are the habits I have to get into. I have to be physically active at some point in my day. I got to go for a walk. I have to step away from the computer because you can get like tunnel vision and you're not very focused. So those are some of the things that I've baked into my plan. So if you want to join that webinar, there are 3 dates. Again, the link is in the notes. End Your Inner Turmoil. And come on to that webinar. Find some ways to stop that negative mind chatter. Get control of your thoughts. Feel that you are able to move forward. Join me on that webinar. Make sure you head over, grab the download for today, and do this work. Create your plan. Figure out what it is that you need to do for steps. Make sure that you look at your plus and minus of your habits, and then focus on your mindset. Those 3 things, when you plant those into your plan, your confidence will bloom. You will just feel yourself stand up taller. You'll know that you are going to be able to do this. You are going to be motivated. You're going to be inspired. You're going to be doing the work. Do those things. Plant those things into your plan. And that, my dear, is going to help you move from surviving to thriving in both your leadership and life. Go make the rest of your day awesome.